Imagine for a second that you are standing in the middle of a dense, thick fog. You can't see the horizon, you can't see the sky. You have absolutely no idea where you are on the map.
Okay.
In fact, you don't even have a map. All you know, your singular driving purpose, is that you need to get to the highest point of land possible.
Right.
You can only feel the ground directly beneath your feet. If you take a step, you might go up, you might go down, or you might step off a cliff.
That is a terrifying image to start the day with. It sounds like one of my recurring anxiety dreams.
It does, doesn't it? But it's also, well, it's reality, in a way.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are turning a massive page. We are leaving the safe, comfortable suburbs of Chapter 3 behind.
The suburbs are gone. The white picket fences of perfect logic are definitely in the rearview mirror.
Exactly. If you've been with us for the previous discussions on classical search, you might be getting a little cocky. You might be thinking, I get AI. I have a map. I have a goal. I have a set of perfect actions. I just need to calculate the path.
It feels safe.
It feels solvable. It feels like a GPS.
And that feeling is the enemy of real-world intelligence. It creates a completely false sense of security.
So what is the mission for this deep dive then? Where are we going?
We are stripping away the safety nets. We are moving beyond classical search. We are going to explore how agents, robots, software, and even us solve problems when the path doesn't matter, or worse, when the world actively fights back. We are entering the messy, chaotic, non-deterministic reality.
I love that distinction, when the path doesn't matter, because usually in life and in code, the path is, it's the whole point. We want the most efficient route. We want to save gas, save time.
Usually, yes.
Yeah.
But think about the layout of a microchip. You have millions of transistors. You need to fit them onto this tiny silicon wafer so they don't overheat and the connections are short.
Okay.
Do you care how the software moved the transistor from the left side to the right side during the design process? Do you care about the history of the struggle?
Not at all. No, I just care that it fits and it works in the end.
Exactly. Or think about the schedule for a major airline.
Yeah.
Or just arranging furniture in your living room. You don't care if you move the sofa to the left and the right, then back to the left. You only care about the configuration.
The final state.
The final state. We call this local search. That's our first big pillar today.
Okay, so pillar 1 is local search. What are the others?
Pillar 2 is non-determinism and partial observability. This is where Murphy's Law kicks in. You try to move forward, but your wheels slip. You try to look around, but the lights are off.
The flying blind segment that we talked about?
Precisely. And the third pillar is online search. That's the learning while doing part. Pure exploration. Dropping an agent into an unknown environment like a Mars rover that lost contact with Earth and saying, good luck, try not to die.
High stakes. I like it. Let's dig into that first pillar then. Local search. You mentioned the memory advantage in the notes. Why is forgetting the past such a superpower here?
Well, think back to a search or breadth-first search, the algorithms we discussed previously. What are they actually doing?
They're building a path.
They're obsessively keeping a history. I started at start node, went to node A, then node B, then node C. They store these paths in memory to ensure they can find the optimal path back and to ensure they don't go in circles.
Right. They need the breadcrumbs to reconstruct the journey.
But if the journey doesn't matter, those breadcrumbs are they're just trash filling up your RAM. In local search, we operate on a single current node. We look at where we are right now. We try to make it slightly better. We don't keep a history.
So if I'm solving a massive problem, like the 8 queens problem, or let's be real, the million queens problem, classical search would crash my computer because it runs out of memory storing all the possible paths.
Instantly. It wouldn't even get started. A systematic search keeps expanding the frontier. It's exponential. It's trying to hold the entire multiverse of possibilities in its head at once.
And local search?
Local search. It uses a constant amount of memory. It's tiny. You could run a local search for a million queen puzzle on a smartwatch from 2010.
Okay, let's just quickly clarify the 8 queens problem for anyone who might have missed the primer. This is the standard fruit fly of computer science problems.
Right.
You have a chessboard, 8 by 8. You have 8 queens. You need to place them so no queen can kill another.
And in chess rules, a queen attacks anything on the same row, same column, or any diagonal.
And in this scenario, local search means I just throw 8 queens on the board randomly to start.
You could. Or a slightly smarter way is to put one in each column to start with, knowing that at least the columns are safe. The point is, you start with a complete but flawed state.
I see.
The board is full, the queens are there, but they are attacking each other. It's a mess. The search isn't building a path from an empty board. The search is tweaking the existing board. You pick a queen that is under attack and you move it to a safer spot.
You're fixing it on the fly. It feels much more organic, like editing a rough draft rather than writing a perfect sentence from scratch.
That is a beautiful analogy. It is editing. You are optimizing the draft. And to do that, we use the most enduring metaphor in computer science, the state-space landscape.
Okay, paint this picture for me. I'm visualizing a terrain.
Imagine a vast, rugged landscape. Hills, valleys, sharp peaks, deep canyons. Your location on this landscape, your latitude and longitude, represents the configuration of the board.
So one coordinate might be queen 1 is on square A4, and another is queen 2 is on H7, and so on.
Exactly. Every possible arrangement of queens, and there are millions, is a specific spot on the ground. Now here is the key part. The elevation of that spot corresponds to the quality of the solution.
The goodness.
Yes. If we're using an objective function, something we want to maximize, like number of non-attacking queens, then the best solution is the highest peak, the global maximum. We want to climb Mount Everest.
But I assume sometimes we want to go down if we're talking about cost or something.
You're one step ahead. If we are talking about cost, like fuel cost for a delivery truck, or the length of wire in a circuit board, we want the lowest point. Then elevation is a heuristic cost. We want the global minimum, the deepest valley.
Yeah.
The math is identical. You just flip the sign. For today, let's put on our hiking boots. We are climbing hills.
We want the peak. But as I said in the intro, there's fog.
Thick fog. This is the limitation of the algorithm. It doesn't have a God's eye view of the landscape. It can't see the summit from the base. It can only see its immediate neighbors.
Just one step away.
Just the ground one step away.
This leads us to hill climbing search. The notes call this a greedy approach. I always feel like greedy is such a judgment in AI. It sounds like the algorithm has a character flaw.
It's a description of immediate gratification. A greedy algorithm takes the step that looks best right now without worrying about where it leads later. It is zero foresight.
So let's play this out. I'm on the mountain. I look north, south, east, west. North goes up 5 feet. East goes up 10 feet. South goes down.
You go east immediately. You don't think, well, maybe north connects to a higher ridge later. You don't care. You just take the steepest step up. That is the hill climbing loop. Assess neighbors. Choose the highest one. Move. Repeat.
And when do you stop?
You stop when every step you can take leads down. You've reached a peak, you look around, and you are higher than everyone near you. You're king of the hill.
It sounds too simple. Does it actually work?
It's incredibly fast. For many problems, it just snaps to a solution instantly. It's like water flowing downhill, but in reverse. It just zooms to the top.
Yeah.
But, and you knew there's a but.
I can guess. What if I climb the wrong hill?
Exactly. You have found a local maximum. Imagine you were in the foothills of the Himalayas. You climb a small hill, you reach the top, you look around, and every direction is down. Your algorithm says, congratulations, you are at the highest point in the world.
But Mount Everest is looming in the fog 5 miles away, and I can't get there because to get there, I'd have to walk down into the valley first.
And hill climbing never goes down.
Yeah.
It refuses to take a temporary loss for a long-term gain. It gets stuck on the pimples of the landscape.
That's a great image. Stuck on a pimple. It feels like a very human failure, too. You know, getting stuck in a situation that is good enough and being afraid to take a risk to find something great.
It is exactly that. It is the algorithm of complacency. And that's not the only trap either. We also have ridges.
Like a mountain ridge?
Yes. Imagine a narrow knife-edge ridge rising up the mountain, but the ridge runs diagonally, say, northeast.
Okay. And my algorithm moves in cardinal directions, north, south, east, west.
Right. If you move purely north, you drop off the side of the ridge. If you move purely east, you drop off the other side.
Okay.
The only way to go up is to move north and east simultaneously. But your operator, your movement rule, might not allow that kind of diagonal move.
So I'm doing a jagged little dance, just zigzagging back and forth.
If you're lucky. A lot of the time, the algorithm just sees down in all available single directions and gives up. It gets stuck on the spine, thinking it's at a peak when it's just on a ridge.
Okay, and the third trap.
The plateau. A flat area.
Flat seems harmless. Can't you just walk across it?
But which way? Remember, the algorithm relies on the difference in height to make a decision. Go to the higher spot. If all spots are equal, it has no guidance. It just wanders aimlessly.
It's like being lost in a blizzard in Antarctica. Everything is white and flat. You completely lose your sense of direction.
That's a perfect way to put it. Now, a plateau can be a flat local maximum basically a flat-topped mesa that leads nowhere, or it can be a shoulder, like a flat part of the mountain before it rises again. If you can navigate the shoulder, you can keep climbing.
So how do we fix this? I mean, if I'm on a plateau, surely I should just keep walking.
That is a valid strategy. It's called allowing a sideways move.
Okay, that seems reasonable.
It is very effective for the 8 queens problem. If you allow sideways moves on a plateau, the success rate, the ability to find the solution, jumps from a dismal 14% to a whopping 94%.
Wow, that is a massive jump. Why not always do it then? What's the catch?
The catch is the infinite loop. If you are on a flat local maximum, a mesa that doesn't connect to anything higher, you will just walk in circles on it forever. You need to put a limit on it. Okay, I'll walk sideways for 100 steps. If I don't find a slope by then, I quit.
So hill climbing is fast, but it's brittle. It gets stuck easily on local maxima, ridges, and plateaus. Is there a brute force way to fix this? Can we just, I don't know, rage quit and start over?
We can. And paradoxically, that is often the best strategy. It's called random restart hill climbing.
The turn it off and on again of algorithm?
Essentially, you run the hill climb. If you get stuck on a peak that isn't the goal, you check, are queens still attacking? And the answer is yes. You don't try to climb down, you just hit reset.
You just teleport.
You teleport to a random new spot on the map, and you start climbing again.
And you just keep doing this until you find the global maximum?
Yep. Mathematically, as long as you keep restarting, the probability of eventually landing on the slope of the true peak approaches 100%. We call this trivially complete.
The source material had this hilarious visual for this, the porcupine landscape.
Yes! I love that one. Imagine a flat floor with widely scattered porcupines. Each porcupine is a local maximum, a needle-sharp peak rising out of nowhere.
If you are a climber, that's a nightmare. You have to land exactly on the needle to climb it. If you land on the flat part, you just wander around.
But for random restart, it's perfect. You keep dropping from the sky. Eventually, you impale yourself on the tallest porcupine.
Ouch. But, effective.
Surprisingly effective.
Yeah.
Even for problems with millions of queens, random restart can often find a solution in under a minute. It turns out many real-world problems aren't one giant mountain. They are rugged, messy fields, just trying lots of starting point speeds, trying to be smart about one single path.
Okay, so that's the brute force fix. But surely we can be smarter. Nature doesn't just teleport organisms around. Nature has processes.
Nature is the ultimate optimizer. And that brings us to our second pillar of local search, simulated annealing.
I've always thought this was the coolest name for an algorithm. It sounds like something from a hard sci-fi novel.
Yeah.
But it comes from metallurgy, right? From blacksmithing.
It does. Think about a blacksmith forging a sword, or a glass blower working with glass. You heat the material up until it's glowing orange. Why do you do that?
To make it malleable. The atoms are loose. They can move around.
Exactly. The atoms are in a high-energy state. They're bouncing around chaotically. Then you cool it down. But the trick is the speed of cooling. This is annealing. You have to cool it slowly.
Why slowly? Why not just dunk it in a bucket of water?
Well, if you quench it fast, the atoms freeze instantly in whatever chaotic arrangement they were in. The material becomes brittle. It's a local minimum of energy. It's full of internal stress. But if you cool it slowly, the atoms have time to jiggle, to reorganize, and settle into a perfect crystalline structure, a global minimum of energy.
Strong and stable. So how do we apply blacksmithing to computer science?
We switch our metaphor to gradient descent. We're now trying to get a ping pong ball into the deepest hole on a bumpy surface.
Okay. Bumpy surface, ping pong ball, got it.
If we just roll the ball, that's hill climbing, or I guess valley descending in this case, it gets stuck in the first pothole it rolls into, a local minimum. So what we do is we shake the table.
We shake the table.
The temperature, let's call it dollars, is how hard we shake. At the beginning, dollars is high. We are shaking the table violently. The ball is bouncing everywhere. It bounces out of the local potholes. It might even bounce out of the deepest hole temporarily.
It's controlled chaos.
And in the algorithm, this translates to accepting bad moves.
Okay, explain that. Usually, in search, if a move makes things worse, we reject it immediately.
In simulated annealing, we pick a random move. If it improves things, goes downhill, we always take it. But if it makes things worse, goes uphill, we might still take it.
We take a gamble.
We gamble. And the probability of taking that bad move depends on two things. First, how bad is the move? If it's a tiny step up, we'll probably take it. If it's a huge leap up a cliff, probably not. And second, the temperature.
So when the temperature is high early in the search, we accept almost anything, even really bad moves.
We are drunk with heat. We wander all over the map. This ensures we explore the whole landscape and don't get trapped in the foothills right at the start.
And then the cooling schedule kicks in.
Right. We slowly dial down $2. The shaking becomes a gentle vibration. We stop accepting the terrible moves. Then we stop accepting the mediocre moves. Eventually, $2 hits zero. The shaking stops, and the ball settles into the nearest pit.
But because we shook it so thoroughly at the start, the nearest pit is now extremely likely to be the global minimum.
That's the magic. In fact, there is a mathematical proof that if you lower the temperature slowly enough, finding the global optimum is guaranteed with a probability of 1.
That is fascinating. It feels like a lesson in life strategy, too.
How so?
Well, sometimes you have to accept a bad move to get unstuck. You have to quit a decent job, which is a drop in income and drop in elevation to go back to school, so you can eventually climb a much higher peak later on.
Ah, I see.
If you only ever accepted uphill moves, like raises and promotions, you might get stuck in a career local maximum.
That is a perfect application of simulated annealing to career counseling.
Yeah.
You need high temperature, high risk tolerance early in your career.
Shake the table while you're young.
Exactly. Before the cooling schedule of mortgages and back pain sets in.
A little too real.
Ugh.
Let's move to another nature-inspired approach. We've done physics, now let's do biology, evolution.
Right, genetic algorithms. This is where we stop looking at a single agent and start looking at a population.
But before we get to the splicing of DNA, the outline bridges this with something called local beam search. What is that?
Think of it as parallel hill climbing, but with a twist. Instead of one climber on Everest, we drop, say, 8 climbers at random spots.
Okay, so is that just 8 random restarts running at the same time?
No, and this is the crucial difference. In random restarts, the climbers ignore each other. They're in isolated universes. In beam search, they have walkie-talkies.
They share information.
In a way.
Yeah.
At each step, we look at all the neighbors of all 8 climbers. And then we pick the best 8 spots from that entire pool.
Oh, I see. So if climber A is stuck in a boring flat parking lot, but climber B has found a fantastic steep ridge, the algorithm might just abandon climber A and create a new climber over by B.
Exactly. It's like someone shouts, "Hey guys, the grass is way greener over here." It abandons the unfruitful areas to concentrate resources on the promising ones. It focuses the beam.
That makes intuitive sense. Why waste time searching a desert when your friend is already in the jungle?
Yeah.
So how does this evolve into genetic algorithms?
Well, beam search is basically asexual reproduction. You have a state, and it produces slightly modified offspring, which are its neighbors. The best ones survive. Genetic algorithms, or GAs, introduce sexual reproduction.
The birds and the bees of AI.
We take 2 parent states, and we combine them to create a child.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Back to the 8 queens problem. How do you mate 2 chessboards?
You represent the board as a string of numbers. Since there is 1 queen per column, you just need 8 digits. For example, 247485552. Each digit is the row of that column's queen.
Okay, so that string is the DNA, the chromosome.
Right. Now we have a population of these strings. We evaluate them with a fitness function. For queens, fitness would be number of non-attacking pairs. Higher is better.
Survival of the fittest. We pick the best boards to be parents.
Then comes crossover. This is the splicing. We pick a random point in the string, say after the 3rd digit. We take the first 3 digits from mom and the last 5 digits from dad, and we just glue them together.
And that's the child.
That's the child.
And it's on.
And finally, to prevent the gene pool from getting stagnant, we add mutation.
The random spark of creativity.
Exactly. We just flip 1 digit randomly. Maybe the child moves the queen in column 4 from row 1 to row 8. This adds diversity. It's like the shaking and simulated annealing. It ensures we don't lose genetic material that might be useful later.
Now, I have to ask the skeptics question. The source material brings this up, and it's bothered me too. Why is smashing 2 parents together better than just refining 1?
It's the Frankenstein objection.
Right. If I have a great blueprint for a Ferrari, and you have a great blueprint for a Lotus, and we cut them in half and tape them together, we probably don't get a supercar. We get a car with 2 steering wheels and no engine.
That is a very valid intuition. Most of the time, random crossover does break things. But GAs work because of something called schema theory.
Okay, define schema for me.
Think of a schema as a meaningful building block, a functional component. In the queens problem, maybe queens at 2, 4, and 6 in the first 3 columns is a very strong defensive formation. That is a schema.
A chunk of good DNA.
A chunk of good DNA. And maybe the other parent has a great formation for the edges of the board. Crossover allows us to take the core block from mom and the edge block from dad and combine them. We're assembling a solution from high-quality subcomponents.
Ah, so it's less like tearing a blueprint in half and more like modular engineering. I'll take the V12 engine from the Ferrari and the lightweight chassis from the Lotus.
If, and this is a very big if, the representation allows it, the engine genes have to be grouped together in the string. If the genes for the engine are scattered all over the DNA, crossover will just tear the engine apart.
So GAs aren't magic. They require careful engineering of the DNA itself.
It is always engineering. Evolution needs a structure to work within.
Before we leave the happy land of optimization, we have to touch on continuous spaces. We've been talking about grids and chessboards, discrete steps, but the real world is smooth.
It is. If you're trying to place 3 airports in Romania to minimize travel time for everyone, you aren't placing them on a checkerboard. You're placing them at coordinates as y, and $6 can be 45.12345. Infinite precision.
Infinite neighbors. You can't just check all options.
So you use calculus. Use the gradient. The gradient is a vector that points in the direction of the steepest descent. Imagine you are hiking blindfolded. You feel the ground with your feet. You feel that it slopes up to the northeast, so you step northeast.
That's gradient descent.
Simple. But there's a catch. How big of a step do you take?
I guess. Just a normal step.
Well, if you take a step that is too small, it takes 1,000,000 years to reach the top. But if you take a step that is too big,
I may zip right over the peak and land on the other side.
you overshoot, exactly. You end up oscillating back and forth around the peak, never settling. Choosing the step size or learning rate is a huge problem in AI training.
And if we want to get really fancy, we use the Newton-Raphson method.
That sounds intimidating, but it's just using the second derivative, the curvature.
Curvature.
The gradient looks at the slope as it's going up. Newton looks at how the slope is changing, the hill flattening out. By knowing the curvature, you can fit a mathematical curve to the ground and calculate exactly where the peak should be. You don't step, you jump straight to the answer.
Sounds much faster.
It is much faster, but mathematically very heavy. It's the difference between fumbling your way to the light switch in the dark versus calculating the geometry of the room to know exactly where the switch is.
Okay, that wraps up our first pillar, optimization, finding the peak. Now, I want to break the world.
I thought you might.
Let's move to non-determinism, the world where actions don't always work as advertised.
Welcome to the erratic vacuum world.
I love this example from the text. In Chapter 3, the vacuum was a god. It sucked, the dirt vanished, it moved, it arrived. Perfect.
Boring. And completely unrealistic. Have you ever used a real vacuum cleaner?
Now we have the Murphy's Law vacuum.
We do. In this world, when you suck a dirty square, it cleans it, mostly. But sometimes it also cleans the neighbor square, too.
That sounds like a bonus feature. I'll take it.
Maybe. But sometimes, if you suck on a clean square, it accidentally vomits dirt onto the carpet.
Okay, that is a bad feature. That is a broken vacuum.
And movement. We have the slippery vacuum. You try to move.
Right.
But sometimes the wheels just spin on the linoleum and you stay exactly where you are.
So if I write a classic program, step 1, suck. Step 2, move right. Step 3, suck. It fails completely. Because after step 1, I don't know for sure if the floor is clean. And after step 2, I don't even know if I move.
The sequence is dead. You need a contingency plan, a strategy.
If this, then that.
We represent this with ANY or search trees.
Okay, visualize this for me.
Imagine a branching tree. You have OR nodes. These are your choices. I can choose to go left or right or suck. That's up to you, the agent.
Okay, I pick suck.
Now you enter an A node. This represents the environment's response. The environment chooses the outcome. The action suck might lead to outcome A, it's clean, and outcome B, it's still messy. And outcome C, the neighbor also got cleaned.
Wait, why is it an A&D node? Only one of those things actually happens in reality.
Because your plan must handle outcome A and D, outcome B and D, outcome C. You don't get to choose which universe you're in. You need a branch for every single possibility.
Ah, I see. My plan needs to be robust enough to work in all the parallel universes that could result from my action.
Exactly. Your plan becomes a tree of nested if-then-else statements. Suck. If the floor is still dirty, suck again. LSE, move. Right.
But what about the slippery vacuum? If I try to move right and I slip, I'm still in the same spot. So my plan says, try to move right again.
And if you slip again.
Try again.
And if you slip 100 times.
I guess I just have to keep trying until it works.
Correct. This is a cyclic solution. The solution isn't a straight line. It's a loop. While state is X, do action Y.
But isn't that a potential infinite loop? What if I slip forever?
We have to make a fundamental assumption here. Fairness. We assume that the dice are fair, that every possible outcome of a non-deterministic action will eventually occur.
Like a key card at a hotel door. You put it in, red light. You put it in again, red light. You don't give up and sleep in the hallway. You assume that eventually it will turn green.
Exactly. So keep trying is a valid strategy. Unless the key is demagnetized, then you are in an infinite loop, and you need a smarter agent that realizes, hey, this action isn't working, and switches to go to front desk. But that requires learning, which is a topic for Chapter 21.
Fair enough. So that's non-determinism. Actions are wobbly. Now let's turn out the lights. Partial observability.
This is the deep end. Sensorless problems.
The outline calls this coercion. This blew my mind when I first read it. How can a robot solve a problem if it has no sensors? If I'm a vacuum and I don't know if I'm in the left room or the right room and I don't know if the floor is dirty, how can I possibly clean the house?
It seems impossible, right? We call these conformant problems. But the answer is surprisingly aggressive. You don't explore the world, you coerce it.
Explain that.
Okay, suppose you're in that two-room house we talked about, left and right. You are blind, you have no idea where you are, your state is left, right. You might be in either.
I am everywhere at once. I'm Schrödinger's vacuum.
Now, execute the action. Move right.
Okay. If I was in the left room, I moved to the right. If I was already in the right room, I would have bumped into the wall and stayed in the right room.
So where are you now?
I'm in the right room, for sure.
Boom. You just gained knowledge without a single sensor. You forced the world into a known state.
I collapsed the wave function.
You did. Now you suck. The right room is now clean. Now you move left. You're definitely in the left room. You suck.
Now the left room is clean.
So sequence right, suck left, suck guarantees the entire house is clean, even though you never saw a single speck of dust.
That is brilliant. It's like searching for a light switch in a dark room. You don't just poke around randomly. You sweep your hand across the entire wall from top to bottom. You don't need to see the switch to know you'll hit it eventually.
A perfect analogy. But to do this mathematically, we need a new concept, the belief state.
This is the core of Chapter 4, really. Define it.
In a classical world, the state is a dot on the map. I am at coordinates 10, 20. In a partially observable world, the belief state is a set of possibilities.
So my state isn't physical, it's purely mental.
Yes. Your state is, I might be in A, or I might be in B, or I might be in C. When you search, you aren't searching through the physical house. You are searching through the space of belief states.
It's a meta search.
It is. And as you take actions, the belief state changes. If you move right, your belief state shifts from left-right to just right. The goal is to maneuver this cloud of possibilities until it shrinks down to a single point, the goal state.
Now, what if we give the robot some sensors? Just a little bit of information.
Then we get to do detective work. Imagine a robot in a maze. It has a map of the maze, but it was dropped in by a helicopter and doesn't know where it landed.
Its belief state is everywhere, the whole map.
It has sonar. It senses obstacles. It pings its surroundings and finds. Wall to the north, wall to the west.
Okay, so it looks at its map.
It asks a question. Which spots on this map have a north wall and a west wall?
Maybe only 3 corners match that description?
So the belief state instantly shrinks. It goes from everywhere to corner 1, corner 2, corner 3.
That's the update step.
Right. The cycle is prediction. I move, so my cloud of possibility shifts and maybe grows. Observation, I see a wall, and update. I rule out all the impossible spots.
And if I keep moving and bumping into things?
Exactly. Okay, now I move south. I see an open door. Only corner 2 on the map has a south door. Boom. The belief state collapses to one dot. You have localized. You know where you are.
This is exactly how my Roomba works, isn't it? Under the couch.
It is. It bumps around, measuring distances, until the pattern of bumps and open spaces it perceives matches a specific spot on its internal map. It's just pure logic solving uncertainty.
We have one final pillar to climb. We've done optimization, we've done chaos and darkness now. Online search.
Into the unknown.
So far, even with the blind robot, we assumed it had a map. It knew the geography of the house, it just didn't know its location on that map.
Right, that's offline search. You sit in an armchair, close your eyes, simulate all the possibilities, build a complete plan, and then you go and execute it.
But what if I don't have the map? What if I'm dropped into a maze I've never seen before?
Then you can't simulate. You can't plan. You have to move. You have to take an action just to see what happens next. This is online search. You interleave acting and thinking.
This feels the most human of all. This is exploring a new city. We're finding your way out of a forest you've never been in.
It is. And it carries real risks that offline search doesn't have.
Like falling off a cliff.
Exactly. In offline search, in your imagination, if a branch of the tree leads to a cliff, you just say, whoops, bad branch, and you don't pick it. No harm done. It was just a thought.
In online search, if I walk off the cliff,
Game over. Brr. Splat.
this leads to a scary theoretical concept called the adversary argument.
Oh, I love this one. It's a thought experiment. Imagine you are exploring a maze. You are trying to find the exit. But imagine that a malicious god, an adversary, is building the maze while you explore it.
That's cheating.
So worst case scenario. If you choose to go left, the adversary puts a wall there. If you choose to go right, he digs a pit. The argument proves that no algorithm can avoid dead ends in all possible unknown spaces.
So exploration is inherently dangerous. There is no perfect safety guarantee.
None. To make progress, we have to make a leap of faith. We have to assume the space is safely explorable. We have to assume that either there are no inescapable traps or that our actions are reversible.
Okay, assuming we don't die immediately, how do we explore efficiently? We don't want to just wander around randomly.
Well, we could wander randomly. The random walk. Just pick a legal move and go.
Does that ever work?
Eventually, if the space is finite, a random walk will find the exit. But it can take an exponentially long time.
The outline mentioned the backward progress trap. What's that?
Imagine a long hallway where the floor is tilted slightly against you. Every time you try to go forward, there's a small probability you slip back. A systematic explorer would keep pushing. A random walker takes a step forward, slips back, gets confused, turns around, and walks the other way. It might spend 1,000,000 years in that one hallway.
So we need something better. We need to build a map as we go.
We need LRTA, Learning Real-Time A.
Okay, break that down for me.
It's surprisingly simple at its core. It relies on leaving breadcrumbs. Or maybe a better analogy is putting up wet paint signs.
Explain.
You are in a state, you look at your neighbors, you use some heuristic to estimate which one gets you closer to the goal, you move there.
That just sounds like hill climbing again.
It starts like hill climbing.
Yeah.
But here is the trick. When you leave a spot, you update the cost of the spot you just left. You say, well, I was just there, and it didn't immediately get me to the goal. So that spot is probably more expensive, more useless than I first thought.
You increase its badness rating.
Exactly. You are flattening the minimum. Imagine a literal hole in the ground. The agent falls in. It wants to get out. It moves around at the bottom. It realizes this isn't the goal. It increments the cost of these bottom squares. Essentially, it puts a shovel full of dirt in the hole.
And if it keeps moving back and forth in the hole?
It keeps adding dirt, shovel after shovel. Eventually, the hole fills up. The cost becomes so high that the agent naturally spills out over the top and is forced to explore somewhere else.
That is incredibly clever. It forces you to stop retracing your steps and getting stuck in loops.
And it relies on a beautiful principle: optimism under uncertainty.
Optimism. How is an algorithm optimistic?
How do you initialize the costs of the unknown squares, the squares you haven't seen yet?
I don't know. 0. A big number.
You assume they are awesome. You assume that every unvisited state leads immediately to the goal with 0 cost.
Why on earth would you do that? That's obviously not true.
Because it forces curiosity. If I see a dark door I haven't opened, and my internal logic assumes the exit is probably right behind that door, I will rush to open it. It's an incentive to explore.
And if it's not the exit, if it's a broom closet,
Then I am disappointed. I update the cost. Okay, that wasn't the exit. That door was a liar. I go check the next dark, unexplored door with the same boundless optimism.
curiosity is coded as optimism. I love that. The grass is always greener on the unexplored side.
It is the only way to overcome the fear of the unknown. If you assume the unknown was dangerous or expensive, you just sit in the corner you started in and never move.
Wow. We have covered a huge amount of ground today. I mean, we went from the foggy slopes of Mount Everest
To the blacksmith's forge with simulated annealing.
to the genetic splicing of queens on a chessboard.
To the erratic, vomiting vacuum cleaner.
And finally, to the optimistic little robot exploring the unknown, drawing its own map as it goes.
It's a journey from rigid perfection to messy, adaptive reality.
So, what is the big takeaway here? For the listener who isn't programming a robot vacuum for a living.
I think the lesson is that classical search, the perfect plan, is a luxury we rarely have.
Yeah.
In the real world, in business, in relationships, in science, we are almost always dealing with non-determinism. Things go wrong, partial observability, we don't know everything, and local optimization. We just want to make things a little better right now.
We are all online search agents.
We are. We don't have the full map of our lives. We have to act to learn. We have to assume the safely explorable hypothesis that if we make a mistake, we can probably recover from it.
And sometimes when we get stuck in a rut, in a local maximum of our own,
We need a random restart. Move to a new city. Pick up a new hobby. Shake the table.
shake the table. I want to leave the listeners with a final thought from the source material that really stuck with me. It's about evolution.
Ah, the Baldwin effect.
Right. Darwinian evolution is a genetic algorithm. It's a slow, kind of dumb search. It generated something like 10 forward of organisms without really learning how to search better. It just tried things. Random mutation, crossover.
But then you have the Baldwin effect. This suggests that if an individual organism can learn during its lifetime, if it can perform a little bit of local search for itself, finding a better way to eat or hide, that actually accelerates the genetic evolution of the entire species.
Learning speeds up evolution.
It implies that our intelligence, our ability to perform online search in our own lives, isn't just about us. It's speeding up the universe's search for better forms of intelligence.
We are the local search algorithm for the universe. That's heavy.
And beautiful.
Keep climbing those hills, everyone, even if you have to zigzag.
And don't be afraid of the occasional random restart.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.